Hello and welcome to this week's Real Estate Report on the Finance News Network. I'm Bianca Harchi. This week we're off to WA as part of our series looking at suburbs home to a university. We speak with the Housing Industry Association about the federal government's funding for regional city infrastructure, what it will deliver and when. And in our tax tip of the week, we look at making a standard end-of-the-month owner or tenant rental statement acceptable to the ATO as an ABN tax invoice. But first, let's catch up on this week's property news with Lelde Smits.
The average house price continued to rise across Australia in the year to June. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, the standout increases were in Melbourne, where house prices rose 24.3% in the year to June, and Sydney, where prices rose 21.4% over the same period. But just as house prices increased, new home sales fell in June to a 17-month low, as rising interest rates continue to erode demand. The Housing Industry Association's Home Sales Index dropped 5.1% in June, following a 6.4% drop in May, as the lingering effects of pricier loans acted as a deterrent to new buyers entering the market. Victoria fared the worst, with home sales sliding 1%, while New South Wales posted a 2.2% fall. HIA says sales of houses dropped 5.2% in Western Australia and 5.1% in Queensland. In South Australia, new home sales went backwards by 4.2% in the month of June.
In our Suburb in Focus, we wrap up our series looking at suburbs that have a university in them. This week, we focus on two suburbs in Western Australia. First up, we take a look at the house market in Rockingham, home to the campus of Murdoch University. Located 47 kilometres south to southwest of Perth and 28 kilometres south of Fremantle, the suburb's population in the last census was just under 13,000. Rockingham is well serviced by transport with both the train line and the Rockingham shuttle bus, which follows a route from the train station to the foreshore via the local shopping centre. The 9:20 service to Fremantle runs at 15-minute intervals Monday to Friday, providing access to Perth. Turning to the figures, the median house price in Rockingham for the year to March 2010 was $364,000. That's up 15.6% for the year. The median weekly rent for a house was $320, with an average rental yield of 4.6%. 358 houses were sold in Rockingham during the 12 months to March, with 251 houses currently up for sale. And now to our second suburb, the unit market in Joondalup, 26 kilometres north of the Perth CBD. The town is home to the main campus of Edith Cowan University, which boasts state-of-the-art facilities, including a multi-million-dollar sport and fitness centre and outdoor cinema complex. Joondalup is bounded by Burns Beach Road to the north, Mitchell Freeway to the west, Eddystone and Lakeside Drives to the south, and Lake Joondalup to the east, with good shopping at Lakeside Joondalup, which is adjacent to the local railway station. The suburb's population in the 2006 census was 8,420, and Joondalup is regarded as the city of the north. Looking at the figures now, and the median unit price in the suburb for the year to March 2010 was $379,000, with unit prices up 0.9% over that period, while the median weekly rent for a unit there was $340, with an average rental yield of 4.7%. 54 units were sold in Joondalup during the 12 months to March, with 52 units currently listed for sale. Turning now to our interview of the week, Graham Wolfe from the Housing Industry Association explains the government's regional city infrastructure plan, including how much has been committed to it, the type of regional city expected to benefit, how many houses will be built, and what it's going to take to attract more people to move to these new regional cities.
Well, the government did make an announcement in the first week of their election campaign to invest $200 million to help fund infrastructure projects in regional cities over the next 3 years. The selection of these cities is going to be based on a competitive tender type approach, although there was a reference to cities such as Mackay in Queensland, Geelong in Victoria, and Newcastle in New South Wales. So that gives a clue to the sort of regional cities we're talking about. The government, I think, is anticipating that some of the projects that they'll be receiving applications for will be road connections and drainage works, as well as some physical infrastructure. But all in all, they would envisage around about 15,000 new homes would accompany the infrastructure spending that they've got targeted. But I would imagine that the housing that we're talking about that would be directly related to this infrastructure spend would probably be in the latter half of next year and early part of 2012. Well, importantly, the commitment for spending on infrastructure in regional cities is tied to employment. And one of the prerequisites that the government's identified for the applications to commit to is, or to demonstrate that there is a strong or an anticipated strong employment framework that would be available to people moving in there. So how do they get people to move there? Affordable housing, good employment prospects, and good infrastructure and service delivery in that area. So they're the three key areas, and there's certainly enough to make people from the capital cities that are struggling to find affordable accommodation in those regions to think about going out into regional cities rather than in the metropolitan areas of capital cities.
And now to our tax tip of the week from Depreciator, the tax depreciation schedule specialists. The tax tip looks at whether the standard end-of-month statement, owner statement, or tenant rental statement with the addition of an ABN suffices as a tax invoice. The ATO reported that a standard end-of-month invoice with the addition of an ABN doesn't satisfy the requirements of a tax invoice. However, it can be modified to comply, so long as the statement includes the following: the ABN of the entity that issues it, the price of the supply, other information such as Regulation 29-70.01 of the GST regulations, and be in the approved form of the GST Act. So if your owner statement provided by your agent doesn't currently comply, you should request it be changed to avoid unnecessary paperwork. And as always, this is general advice only, and you should consult your accountant or tax professional before making any tax-related decisions. And that's it for the Real Estate Report for this Monday, the 9th of August. Thanks for joining us. I'm Bianca Hartchi for the Finance News Network.